Nobody will hold it against you if you're only into gold and silver for fun. Well, maybe your wife or your fidelity broker, maybe your banker cousin or a whole subreddit full of Bitcoin fans, but we aren't here to talk about fun haters. We're here to work on our comebacks. It is surprisingly difficult to find good information on buying gold and silver. Suspicious motives are everywhere. 4 smart gold investing moves that every beginner should make. That appears to have been written just to give some affiliate links a home, a soft pitch to roll your IRA into this gold custody service or another. Now, I don't have that motive. So I'm going to give you my 4 tips for gold investing. We're going to start off with the free one. Let's not call it investing. We're just going to look at it like an asset. And we're going to include silver here too, because there's a huge amount of crossover. If you want to lump platinum in there too, that's fine. So let's kick it off with the most important one. The reason that I started this channel in the first place, and that is know what you're buying. Any of us can find the spot price of gold or silver at any time. I'm using a chart from SD Bullion here. We can get gold, we can get silver. We can see that right now the spot price of gold is $2,003. I can't tell you the magic behind each one that makes them all slightly different, but it's very minimal. Every bullion dealer should list the spot price of gold and silver in real time. And if you just want a number, you can always go to Kitco. That's another good place to look. But knowing the spot price means that you know the premium that's going to be charged for what you're buying. Also lets you know if there are additional service fees, something hidden. So buying direct from somebody like SD Bullion is easy. There should be no service fees. The price you see on the product's detail page is going to be the price that you pay. Now, your state might charge sales tax. That'll show up in the checkout screen, but there won't be additional costs. Now, if you're buying from somebody else, a broker, an IRA custodian, there are going to be service fees, and there might be recommendations coming for other types of products, expensive products that you probably wouldn't have otherwise even known about, much less bought. But stick a pin in that for a minute. We'll come back to that. Part B of this before we move on is just knowing who you're buying from. SD Bullion, they're a channel sponsor here. You should know that. But bias aside, they're just a good example of a simple business model, straightforward stuff. You buy a gold or silver coin for the spot price of the metal plus a premium. That's the way it should be. If you want one of those gold buffaloes, maybe you'll pay spot plus 6% or so. More than you want to spend? Well, no problem. They have Canadian Maple Leafs for spot plus 2.5%, and that's potentially the best deal in gold coins right now, at least in my opinion. But like I said, I don't have any motivations behind saying something like that. I'm just pointing out that you have options. And on top of this, dealers like them or your local coin shops aren't going to have hidden fees. They're also not going to push special products on you like a graded pre-33 gold coin they say can't be taken from you in a government confiscation. Which brings us to tip number 2. Don't buy any of this on other people's fear. The fear is going to be a constant in this space. Maybe right now you're afraid I'm going to ding these coins, but I'm not. Now, if we were to dive into where all that comes from, all the fear, my bet is that we'd find it all comes from analysts. Quotes around that word. There are brokers out there hoping to do your gold investing for you. And some of the most vocal fear mongers in this space are analysts at one of those companies. So rather than stopping into a local shop or jumping onto a website, finding what you're looking for, seeing what the price is, and checking out, you're going to call one of their experts. Now, if you aren't up on tip number 1, knowing what you're buying, or tip 1B, understanding who you're buying it from, well, you're really not in a good spot for this kind of relationship. Now look, my point in making this video is not to talk down any particular business model, but I am familiar with a few of them who aren't there to offer you gold buffaloes at 6% over spot or Canadian Maple Leafs at 2.5%. Now let's just give them the benefit of the doubt and say that they can sell you bullion for a reasonable price. They're maybe able to store it for you at a reasonable custodian fee. Maybe they'll help you roll over some or all of your retirement account for another fee. And while I don't have any reason to warn anyone against any of that, Some of those experts are going to ask if you've thought about other things. Are you concerned with government confiscation? Maybe they have a particular type of gold that they say might be better for you. That's code for significantly more expensive. Are you concerned with banks failing? Maybe you should spend more. Concerned with CBDCs? Maybe you should spend a lot more. Now, I'm not pointing here at any particular company. I'm just saying if that comes up, that's what I'm talking about here. That would be buying on other people's fear. Now, this tip doesn't relate only to precious metals brokers. Maybe your favorite YouTuber is doing the same thing, and they might not profit from it at your expense. Maybe it's just ad revenue to them. But the way that attention works is that you have to continually spin the wheel or the momentum dies. So their focus is to continually spin up new fear, constantly surfacing reasons for you to be afraid, reasons for you to constantly be checking in. It's just dumb. Now, from an entertainment perspective, whatever. But I don't think additional stress and constant anxiety is good for anyone. Maybe that's just me. But the important part here is not believing other people's fear. At least not believing it to the point that you're spending money that you wouldn't have otherwise spent based on this week's story. Buy for your own reasons. The next tip is easy, but it's easier said than done. Don't buy weird stuff. Now, the reason that that's hard is that weird stuff can be fun. And maybe just somebody else gave a convincing argument of why they think it's fun. Either way, it's probably not a good reason. Now, these Greek god of Olympus coins, they were $150 each. Actually, I think they were a little bit more than that. That's for 1 ounce of silver. These coins are each 1 ounce. And the spot price of silver today is $23. So what is that? 600% premium almost? Now, I won't get that back, and that's maybe an extreme case, but it's kind of nuts. And I have 20 ounces or so of gold coins that I would have to sell individually to private buyers just to get back what I paid or what I think they're worth. A coin here or there, it's worth it to me if the design is meaningful, but I went overboard personally. If I was starting out today, I would stick to Eagles, Buffaloes, Canadian Maple Leafs. That's considering their price. This high relief lunar tiger is something I don't ever plan to sell, but I knew that going in. If Eagles, Buffaloes, Maple Leafs, they're not your thing, when you have Krugs or Britannias, Philharmonics, Kangaroos, whatever's the best in your region, that's what you should consider first. That will allow you or your family to quickly sell when or if the time comes. Now, if you really want a high relief tiger or a Scrooge McDuck or Hades sitting on a toilet, well, just know that you're probably going to have to sell all of them one at a time. Last up is probably a tip for anything in life, and that is don't compare yourself to others. I think Teddy Roosevelt said it best when he said comparison is the thief of joy. It's a really good way of putting it. A lot of the pressure to buy comes from seeing what others are saying, what others are doing, and a lot of the missing sense of accomplishment comes from comparing yourself to somebody who's been at it for longer than you, someone's ahead of you. And that hits harder when we're talking about finances, when we're talking about saving some kind of asset. Now, I see comments from people saying they only have a few grams of gold. Well, good for you. If that's what you've been able to save, there are definitely cheaper ways to buy gold than buying those grams, but a few grams of gold is still a few grams more than nothing. Don't let somebody else's place steal your joy. And related to this, comparing is probably how we end up with 600% premium silver coins. I'm still trying to figure out who talked me into these. Now, if you can lock in those 4 tips, you're in a good place. The rest is just going to be about creating a budget, timing your purchases, and I talk about a lot of those things really in most of my videos. So I'm not going to go further into that here, but as a bonus, something that I don't bring up specifically, at least not often enough, is just to enjoy it. There are a lot of ways to save money. It should be fun. It's not something that we have to do because we think the world is ending. And I've been doing it for 15 years and I still get a hit with every purchase. And that helps me avoid wasting money on things that I don't need. But if I ever lost that, if I stopped enjoying it, I was just feeling nervous about this stuff, I would probably look for other things. I just don't see that happening. All right, let's call it good there. If you have some of your own tips, love to hear about them in the comments. If you're watching this before November 6th, by the way, the Lunar Dragon is coming, and let's just be clear about that one. It gets a pass on the rule about not buying weird stuff. I think that one's going to be a winner. Guess we'll see. But let us know what you're up to, and then while you're in the comments, be sure to hit that like button if you found any of this interesting, be sure you're subscribed with notifications turned on if you'd like to see more on the topic. And if you're still here, thanks again for watching. I always appreciate your time. Take care.